Hello there, welcome back to another KP's Plays YouTube video and podcast if you're listening on Anchor FM via Spotify. This is our Royal Rumble results and reviews video. So basically we'll be going through all of the happenings at the Royal Rumble this past weekend. And we're going to be discussing all the matches in detail, giving our sort of like grades for each match and basically reviewing them. What we thought of everything, how it went, did we agree with whatnot, and if we thought each match was as good as it could have been. I am joined today by Scarlett and by Kurt. So we've got the three of us going along. We're going to be sharing our in-depth reviews about all of the matches and everything that went down at the weekend. So without further ado, let's get cracking, let's get underway, and let's just get straight into it, dive in head first. So the show opened with the 30-man Royal Rumble match, and I genuinely thought this was quite a surprising way to start the show, but hey, it happened, and, you know, we started off with a pretty massive match. So, as we all know, Cody Rhodes was one of the, if not the favourite to win the whole thing. He went into the match, came in at number 30, and ended up winning that match. And yeah, I think in terms of an expected result, it was very much expected. I think we all knew that was the way it was going to go down, and it didn't go in a different direction. But let's talk about the match in a little bit more of a detailed and descriptive manner. I thought that the whole match was okay. Like, I'm not going to say that it was incredible because I think there were some areas where it did slip a little bit and it was a little bit underwhelming. I gave this match a 7.5 out of 10. So I don't know if I'm maybe being generous there in terms of like my overall thoughts about how it was. But let me go into a bit of detail. So I thought as a Rumble, it was fine. There were plenty of good spots in the match, one of which comes to mind down in the bottom middle picture on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Between Logan Paul and Ricochet when they did the springboard into that collision in the middle of the ring. I thought that was quite a cool spot. There were some other couple of moments in there that were pretty good. Obviously, you had Brock Lesnar with his whole sort of lash out afterwards, bringing the intensity there. Everyone sort of like piling onto Logan Paul and like beating the crap out of him at one point, which was quite amusing. And with Edge as well, with the whole Judgment Day sort of saga there ongoing still. I thought that whole segment was great for obviously being an Edge fan myself. But yeah, lots of good individual moments and spots and character sort of like interactions there, which I thought was really cool. And I just want to say as well, Gunther is just on this path to stardom. He really, really is. Like, I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. He had a really, really good involvement in the Rumble, obviously lasting from number one until pretty much the very end. And yeah, I mean, what a Royal Rumble he had. He just continues to sort of like display his sort of like in-ring dominance, like, and he's going to continue to, you know, be in that position for a long, long time. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. But yeah, really, really good show from him, and I'm glad that they highlighted that. I did think that Rey Mysterio not getting involved, and obviously it's come out now that he was injured and he wasn't able to get involved in the match. It did mean that it was a 29-man Royal Rumble match rather than a 30-man. I think it's a little bit of a letdown. Surely they could have had somebody that they could have just popped in just for that one last spot, because it wasn't a 30-man Royal Rumble at the end of the day. Yeah, sure, Ray's music hit, and they played it out as if Dominic attacked him, took his mask and whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't 30-man. It was 29, and it was a little bit of a sour taste there. Because they've done things like that in the past. They have had random people just sort of like come in at the last minute, like Becky Lynch comes to mind. And then I think there was one situation with Mick Foley a number of years ago as well. They've done it before, so why couldn't they have done it again? I don't know, just a little bit of an issue there for me. And then there was a Kofi Kingston fail as well, which has been the second year in a row, which was a bit of a shame, right? I don't know what happened with the chair, but I don't know if he was meant to land on it per se. But yeah, either way, fell, and he looked like he was hurt a little bit. So I hope that he was all right. I think he is, but yeah, again, a shame. But yeah, the number of surprise entrances were a little bit low and not quite as great as they could have been. But yeah, in terms of Royal Rumble, I still enjoyed it, but I could have enjoyed it more. That's why I gave it a 7.5. So with that being said, Kurt, what did you think of the Men's Royal Rumble match, buddy?
Yeah, I was kind of expecting this match to become first, because the reasons why I think it's going to be first is because everyone knew that Cody was going to win. And of the match, of the hold, I think I didn't quite enjoy it much as returns and stuff, that which I'll talk a little bit in a minute. So on the match, I really liked when Brock and Bobby feud were in the ring and they were squaring up to each other, and then obviously Bobby got his attack on Brock because they were feuding against each other on Raw and building up for probably Elimination Chamber or WrestleMania, depending what Triple H decides that. And then Bobby eliminated Brock. Obviously, Logan Paul and Ricochet bits, I like their flying high and clashing together. That's what I really enjoyed about it as well. And obviously, we knew that Cody were going to win because they announced it a few weeks before Royal Rumble. So for the returns, I didn't quite exactly enjoy the returns, as we saw like the match card more of like only going to be like 3 returns. One with Booker T, which was kind of alright, but he didn't last very much in the ring. And obviously we had Edge next to return. I enjoyed when they went up to the ramp and then Edge were outraged and wanted to attack them, and then in comes Beth Phoenix from the ramp and then attacking with them, attack Rhea Ripley, because Rhea Ripley came out as well, trying to attack Edge. And I'm looking forward to seeing in the future what the Judgment Day and Edge will do. And then obviously we had Logan Paul, which was a return. So overall, I thought the returns were pretty poor as the previous Rumbles. I've kind of expected like someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin or someone that hasn't been here for a while. But overall, that's what I thought about the returns. And during the returns, I think would have been good if they didn't mention about Cody Rhodes, because it would have been a surprise for everyone and make them all happy that Cody win and Cody returns. So if they didn't announce that Cody being in the Rumble, I think the Rumble would be a big success and everyone would be more happy and stuff like that. So WWE kind of let that down if they wanted a big shock at Rumble. So I'm going to rate this Royal Rumble a 6 out of 10. So I'll pass you over to Scarlett for his thoughts. What do you, Scarlett?
Yeah, you guys pretty much touched on all of the key points I had as well. I too gave this match a 6 out of 10. Basically, the only reasons for that was lack of surprises and the predictable winner. I think the main points here, and maybe this was the reason that WWE decided to go this route, where they announced all but 3 of them, I think it was, before the match. And maybe the reason they were doing that was to maybe let everyone know that there weren't going to be a ton of surprises, because if going into the match they show 15 of them, and then so everyone's extremely hyped for maybe 10 surprise entrants or something, and then we only get the 3. Perhaps that's one of the reasons, maybe to help us come to a conclusion that there wasn't going to be a lot of surprises, and so maybe that was their play there. But yeah, the main takeaways from this match for me was Gunther obviously being the star of the match, went face to face with all the big talent, and what an incredible match from him, and what a great push. The Rey Mysterio bit not coming in, or anyone to replace him, as was mentioned already, was a great shout. I don't see any harm. Dominic can still get his heel heat in there by what he did. You could still have someone else come out to replace him. Maybe not right then, or maybe 5 minutes down the line. Something there that was a bit odd. That was strange. Kofi's botch, disappointing. My one request for that is don't call. I mean, just stop the. I think they need to stop. I think they call him Mr. Mania or whatever, or Mr. Rumble or whatever. I think that needs to be stopped. He did it twice in a row, 2 years in a row. Let's just stop with that. He had his time, and now it's done. I think. I do agree with Kurt on the Cody Rhodes bit. I think you leave him, remove the 30 vignettes we got of him being repeated for the 3 weeks prior, and have him just come in as a surprise. I actually think he would have worked better as a 1 entrant than a 30 or something other than 30, to make him kind of appear to be the workhorse they're trying to sell him as. maybe like basically any number but 30. I think the first 10 would have been a great spot for him. A 30 just kind of feels. I think 30 is just as cliche as 1. I know some don't like the 1 all the way through either. But anything other than 30 or 1, I think would have been better received. And then just obviously, I don't think he needed to win the match. But if he did, if they do want to plan this story, I think he could have gotten in better at any other number. Anyways, I gave this match a 6 out of 10. I think if it wasn't for the last 30 minutes that really picked up, and the final bout between Cody and Gunther, I think really made the match. Basically had their own match after the Rumble there at the end. Though again, I think could have had someone else win it there, but for the results and what it is, I'm excited to see Cody and what he does in the picture too. Just think it was a bit predictable. So I gave this one a 6 out of 10. Back to you, KP.
Nice one, guys. Thank you very much. I forgot to mention the bit at the end with Gunther and Cody going at it. Basically one-on-one. I think I saw online they went just over 7 minutes after, when they had that little segment. So that's pretty cool, to be fair. It is like a little mini match at the end. So, and hey, they brought that house down with that last little interactions. That was quite cool. But I agree with you guys with the whole Rhodes thing. I think if they had, like you guys have both said, if they just got rid of those vignettes, hadn't done any of them, he comes in as a surprise, it would have been way better. The crowd would have popped more, and it would have been more enjoyable for that sense. But hey, it is what it is, There are things they could have done better, but they did what they did. So let's move our attention now to what followed this Royal Rumble, and that was our next match, which was the Pitch Black match, and that was sponsored by Mountain Dew. So this was a weird one, right? In terms of the match itself, I don't think we knew what was going to happen per se going into this one. We had ideas. The lights were going to be turned off. It was going to be essentially pitch black. So they'd have to find a way to make it visible for the crowd and the people at home to be able to actually see. And they added these sort of like neon lighting effects with the whole like glowing in the dark ropes, and LA Knight wore in ring gear that was glow in the dark, and Wyatt had this mask on that's sort of like illuminated, and his tattoo sort of illuminated as well. Yeah, there were like elements that helping people see, and they had that like random sort of like, I think it was like polystyrene or something by the looks of it. I couldn't really tell. We were trying to figure it out at the time, but that was all like on the announce table and stuff when that spot happened. So that sort of went everywhere. It looked like water had like been spilt or something at first. Then we realized it was some sort of like foamy stuff. But in terms of the match itself, I mean, it wasn't great. I'll be honest. It was fine. Like it was the expected result in my sense. Like I thought Wyatt was just going to win. It was his first televised match in a long, long time, and it just, for me, like, it felt built for him to win it. So I mean, I didn't really have a shock at the end when he got the win. I thought the lighting was actually it actually made the match quite like a bit more enjoyable. I think if you put the lights on normally, that match wouldn't have been well received in the slightest. But yeah, I think the lighting actually helped, which is kind of weird. It's not something I normally say of these Bray Wyatt fancy lighting matches, but hey, I guess it's the first time for everything. The match itself was fine. Like I said, it was okay. It wasn't a long match, and it was mostly dominated by Bray Wyatt for a large part of it. I know there was a bit in the middle where LA Knight did have his own sort of like fight back, and that sort of gave it a very sort of standard, I don't know, a Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown mid-card match sort of thing of the show. It gave that vibe for me personally. I thought the post-match segment was pretty decent, to be fair, though. I quite liked the Uncle Howdy spot, but the only shame was that he actually missed LA Knight when he did that sort of diving splash or whatever you want to call it off of the structure. So yeah, I mean, shame that he missed it, but the ending segment was quite cool, to be fair, like with all the flames and stuff, and essentially LA Knight being sort of like put down to rest for a bit. And yeah, I thought it was quite cool, but I gave it a 6.5 out of 10, and that's the match with the segment afterwards as well. That's not just the match itself. That's like this whole thing graded out of 10 basically. So yeah, I mean, it was fine, but nothing crazy, nothing special, I would say. Kurt, what are your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, same with KP. I thought this match was very interesting, especially of the lighting that they give this, of neo lights and the glow up uniform that they wear, especially especially LA Knight's and Bray's face mask and the ropes. I quite like the face that they put on Bray Wyatt as he came in, like the black powder around his eyes and stuff, because I thought that was interesting. The spot that I really enjoyed when LA Knight put Bray Wyatt through an announce table, I thought that was pretty good. And obviously, Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy spots, that's what I thought was really good at the end. That's kind of a good way to finish it off with when Uncle Howdy jumped onto LA Knight and then all the fire and all the stuff set on fire, and we all knew that Bray Wyatt was going to win because this is going to be like an easy match to just do. And I gave this one a 6 out of 10. So I pass you over to Scarlett for his thoughts. Over to you, Scarlett.
Yeah, I didn't care. I guess for the actual match itself, it was not great at all. But the story brings it up. I gave this match a 5 out of 10, and I kind of felt generous giving it that. Just the hype for the match and kind of the promo, and with the giant Mountain Dew, which I know that we knew that ahead of time, but it just kind of felt like a kind of cheap sellout here a little bit. It had nothing to do with Bray. And I don't know, it felt like a regular, weekly televised match with some lighting and some bright neon paint or whatever that was. I don't know. I just feel like I feel like both deserve better. Bray, maybe he's not in ring shape yet, because it did feel oddly short. Maybe the Royal Rumble ahead of this went a little long, and that's why it was cut short. I don't know the exact time, but it did feel oddly short. Like at the end, you're like, oh, that's it, huh? They've been building up this match, and these promos have been going on for a few months, right? A couple months at least. It just felt like a cheap payoff for how long it's been, and maybe it's not done. But for LA Knight's sake, I kind of hope he's done with it. I don't know. It just feels like we get a lot of promos and not much else from these Bray Wyatt stories. So I kind of hope LA Knight moves on, because he has just unlimited potential, I think. And Bray Wyatt can continue doing what Bray Wyatt does. Hopefully, working hard to get in ring shape so we can see proper matches. I guess call me old-fashioned. That's what I'm here for. Storytelling obviously helps, but if that's all we're doing, then why put them in a match? I guess is kind of my thought process here. But yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 10. Wasn't the worst, but definitely felt like a lackluster ending to what had been a pretty good, pretty well-built feud. So that's my thoughts on those. Back to you, KP.
Nice one. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I agree. It did feel a bit lackluster. It didn't quite deliver as much as I hoped it would. I think it deserved better, like you said, Scarlett. So it's a shame, because LA Knight's golden, and obviously it's great to have Bray Wyatt back in action again. So let's hope that these guys get a bit more of a favourable representation in the ring going forward. That would be great. So let's move on now to our next match, which was the Raw Women's Championship match. We had Alexa Bliss challenging Bianca Belair. So this match had quite some build to it, in a sense of, Alexa and Bianca going back and forth in the past, I want to say like almost a couple of months, 6 weeks or so, probably. They had a match before for the title. Obviously, Alexa Bliss went crazy in that one and lashed out at Bianca, and it led to a disqualification and all that sort of stuff. Then it led to this one, and we thought, okay, right, this is going to be, on a bigger stage. It's probably going to be a bit crazier, and let's see what exactly goes down. And it did not deliver in the slightest, in my opinion. So not only was this match really, really short, kind of like the Pitch Black match was between Wyatt and Knight, it was just a letdown. Both of these women are way better than what they were given. And was it because they didn't have much time on the card? On the show, except for the Rumbles and stuff, like outside of those events and obviously the main event. I don't know, maybe. It just felt like these two matches were sort of like cast aside, and they basically said, right, we're just going to put you guys in a short match, and you just got to make the best of the situation. Like, it just felt like these ladies were handed a really poor deck and they had no choice but to go with it. So it's kind of a shame because I know that both of these women are better than what they were given. So yeah, they weren't able to showcase what they are truly capable of, which is such a shame. I gave this one a 5.5 out of 10. So, I mean, you can understand that it was pretty lackluster in my sense of the meaning there. Like I said, it was short, didn't have much of a flow to it. It was quite sluggish and lacked real intensity in the most part. I expected a lot more character development from Bliss afterwards. Like I said in our predictions video, I thought that this match was going to be more about her developing into the next Bliss than the championship match itself. And I thought that's exactly what we were getting when the match ended early. And then it was just a little vignette of Uncle Howdy basically asking if Bliss was still in control. And I mean, we've seen that on Raw like twice already. Why are we getting the same thing again and again? So I don't know. I expected something a lot greater in that sense. They didn't provide it. So I was essentially let down in the match and let down with the character development afterwards. So yeah, really wasn't a fan and wanted more than what we got. That's what I can really say for this one. It's such a shame, but these two women, you know, they had to do it, I guess. So, yeah, Kurt, can you make anything better about this, buddy?
So this match, I kind of really didn't enjoy much because it was just like a normal Raw match, as KP said, because it didn't have much moves and like nothing kind of like amazing to it. Like everyone will say wow to it. I'm guessing in the chance everyone's saying this is boring, but secretly. But either all, we all knew that even though I went for Alexa Bliss to be the new Royal Women's Champion, Bianca Belair retained. Even though I picked Alexa to win, but I thought Uncle Howdy were gonna like return in this match kind of thing during the fight, not at the end. I didn't really enjoy this. This would have been better if it was just a Raw match, and I'm hoping that Alexa gets more wins in the future. And for me, I'm going to rate this a 4 out of 10. So I pass your thoughts over to Scarlett for his thoughts. Over to you, Scarlett.
Yeah, and we're all singing the same tune, unfortunately. I too gave this match a 4 out of 10. And just like the Bray Wyatt match, felt like they were short on time. Give both of those matches, I'm not asking for a lot, maybe 5 more minutes each. Give them time to tell a story in the ring, especially with Bray and Alexa, which the whole point of these characters is to what? Build a story around them, because, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to build this, long-term story. And when they get in the ring and they don't do anything noteworthy, it's just, what's the point? And I've heard people say this before about Bray, maybe that's the reason that they let him tell these stories, is because that's what he brings to the table, and maybe not the wrestling aspect of it. Don't get me wrong, I think he's a fine wrestler, but compared to what WWE has, sticking to his strength, and maybe that's the storytelling. But you can't help but feel bad about Alexa. She deserves better. At one point, I couldn't stand Alexa because she was pushed to the moon and won everything. A Charlotte Light, I guess we'll call her, at one point in her career. But now with this Bray Wyatt stuff seemingly going that direction again, I feel for her, because I don't know. I feel like it's limiting her abilities and her character. She was a pretty good heel before, Little Miss Bliss and all that. I feel like she was pretty good with that. So I'm not sure. I feel like they probably could have picked someone else to play the character this time. A nobody, or someone that can't even wrestle for all. I mean, she's not wrestling much in this role anyway. So why waste Alexa's character with this again? So anyways, you can tell I'm not a big fan of this. I don't think anyone was of this particular match. But both of them kind of felt like weekly shows, not enough time. Give them more time next time to let them do something, make it memorable. It's a pay-per-view match after all. I don't think we're on too many time constraints. I don't think most people are hurrying off afterwards. So I don't like the time constraint issue. But both of these felt like they could have been given more time. Bianca too. I mean, get her out of this too. Didn't benefit. The whole point of this match was to build a story, right? Both of these matches were supposed to build. In this particular match, felt like the last segment was the only part that built, unless I'm forgetting it. I mean, the match was quick. Maybe I'm forgetting it. But without the last segment with Alexa, it really didn't build much either. So what was the point? Right? We could have had this on Raw. Yeah, just disappointing because these two in the ring should have been a good match. But yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 10, and the rest of the show luckily went a lot better. Back to you, KP.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you guys more, to be fair there. Hopefully, we see much more from these two women going into WrestleMania season now that we are on the road to WrestleMania. So fingers crossed that they get sort of like a bigger role going forward. Obviously, we're talking about the role in the champion here. I'm saying give her a bigger role. That is quite mental, actually, for me to say. But you know what I mean. Everyone knows what I mean by that. So let's move on to our next match then, guys. All right. So the next match that followed that one was the Women's Royal Rumble match. And obviously, this one, well, it had the capabilities of being much more of a surprise element. So obviously, you didn't have as many women that were announced for the Royal Rumble, and if you compare it to the men's anyway, it gave sort of like an impression that it was going to be a lot more people that we might not necessarily expect to be in it. And I mean, to be fair, there were a couple of surprise entrances in this one. Obviously, we did have the likes of Michelle McCool, who was at ringside watching the show anyway, and then obviously she jumped over the barricade and went into the match. So that was pretty cool. And she had a decent involvement in the match as well, to be fair. We have the return of Asuka, who we spoke about on the predictions video, going back to her sort of like Kana style gimmick type thing. And that was amazing. It was just wicked. So I'm really glad that happened. I think she's going to be a menace going forward in the women's division. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does like going forward here. We had Chelsea Green, who came back, and she lasted all of about 5 seconds in there. I think it might have even been a little bit less, but she definitely broke the record for the shortest appearance at the Rumble for the women. So that's something that she can hold on to, I guess. And then Nia Jax at the end, with her big return and then the botch of the entrance theme hitting before the countdown. I'm not sure if that was planned or not. I'm guessing it wasn't, but yeah, it gave a very Nia feel to it from the get-go. So it's good to see that nothing's changed in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the match, actually. I gave it a 9 out of 10. And I just thought that the Women's Rumble was leaps and bounds ahead of that of the Men's Rumble. And I got to give serious credit to Rhea Ripley and to Liv Morgan here, because they not only started at 1 and 2 and lasted the whole thing, which, yeah, sure, I've kind of like been against a bit more recently, because obviously it is quite commonly done now. They start early, they go the distance, and they just narrowly miss out, or they do end up winning it. But to be fair to both women, like Liv Morgan, I swear, was involved essentially all the damn time in this Rumble. Every time that someone came in, I swear they had like a slight little interaction with Liv, and yeah, she didn't back down. She wasn't sort of like hiding away in the shadows. She was always getting involved with the people that were coming in, and I think massive respect has got to go to Liv Morgan here because of that. I said that she was probably going to have a big involvement anyway. I think most of us knew that because she was demanding that she can start number 1. She got number 2 in the end, but it's the same thing at the end of the day, isn't it? So, but yeah, she definitely didn't like underwhelm us in any sense. She completely smashed it and had a fantastic showing. And as did Rhea Ripley. Like obviously, she ended up winning the match. I was happy with that result as well. I'm glad that she won because I think she deserves a WrestleMania moment against. Obviously, we know now that it's going to be Charlotte Flair. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited to see how that goes, and we'll just have to see what goes down, in the build up to WrestleMania. But yeah, great match, really good overall Royal Rumble. Surprise entrance were a few, nice ones in there. A couple of repackaged stars, which was also great to see, and lots of good moments. Really big enjoyment factor to it. So yeah, Asuka looking badass is something that's a really big highlight for me. So absolutely delighted for that. But yeah, that's what I thought about it. 9 out of 10. What about you, Kurt? What did you think, man?
For me, I thought this Rumble were better than the men's because obviously we had loads of women returning to this. I like as Liv and Rhea was the first 2 competitors, and they lasted through the end. And the last 2 was Rhea eliminating Liv Morgan, which was number 2 entrant, and they spent the same amount of time in the same ring. That's what I thought were good about them too. And yeah, we obviously had Natalya return, my favourite wrestler, And I'm glad that she's returned. I want to see how she does in the future on SmackDown. And obviously, as KP said about Michelle McCool, that she was at the crowd sitting down, and then obviously a music hit, and then she came up and came to wrestle, and I thought she put on a good performance, and she eliminated Tamina as well. That's what I thought was good. And everyone's favourite Oscar is back with her new looks of her face makeup and her new attire when she made her way down to the ring. And we had the big return, which was Nia Jax, and that bit, her music bit, botched because it didn't have the countdown, and suddenly a music hits. And I was confused though what happened then, because I didn't expect that. And I liked as everyone ganged up Nia when she came in the ring, and everyone just stared at her and not doing what they normally do, and eliminated her. And as she eliminated, she did Triple H's DX sign as suck it that everyone does, that are kind of fans kind of enjoyed. And obviously Rhea Ripley won this match, but kind of were expecting Beth Phoenix to be one of the returns of these, even though she returned in the Rumble, men's Rumble. Kind of expecting that she was in this Royal Rumble to be like in a feud with Rhea, and possibly Rhea eliminating Beth, or Beth eliminating Rhea. But as this goes, be Beth eliminating Rhea if she was in this match. And I also like as Chelsea Green returned, and she was the shortest amount of time in the ring because she just stepped in, and then Rhea Ripley just eliminated her immediately. I think she spent about 5 seconds in there, 5 or 3 seconds before it got eliminated. That I thought was really funny because last time she had a Rumble, that's about the same amount she had last time. And obviously we had a few NXT superstars in for this Women's Royal Rumble, and we didn't have any NXT superstars in for the men's, which I kind of thought there would be. But overall, I really enjoyed this women's match. So I give this match an 8 out of 10. So I pass the thoughts over to Scarlett. Over to you, Scarlett.
Yeah, I can't think of a more enjoyable Rumble, women's Rumble than this one. I watched most of them recently, and I just couldn't think of another one I liked better. One thing I do like about this match over the men's is that the storytelling, and just felt like it was, every woman in there for the most part was either telling a new story or continuing on a story. The Damage Control and Becky story, and then Natalya returning, immediately showing Shayna's face and just stuff like that. I feel like a lack of storytelling in the men sometimes in their Rumble. But yeah, really, really good Rumble. I gave this one a 9 out of 10 as well, actually. I had a few complaints in that maybe you could have swapped Liv and Rhea's position in the entry. I'm picking at straws here, but I just feel like if Rhea's going to win, doesn't matter if she's in there too, whereas Liv, give her what she'd have been asking for, and getting that close makes it a little more meaningful if she's at 1. But again, just nitpicking here. The B-Fab, I knew she could wrestle, but I hadn't seen her in action. At least I don't recall. I thought she actually looked pretty good in the little time that she was in there. You just feel like maybe she could potentially be a star down the line. And then, as Kurt mentioned, a few NXT stars, and Roxanne Perez and Zoe Stark. Felt like they both had pretty good showings as well. It was surprising that the men didn't have any, but I think that just the women kind of have to, because their roster is a little smaller. So I think they kind of have to pull from NXT. I can't recall one that they didn't. So that was good to see. And Piper Niven coming back, losing the Dewdrop was great. I think she has a lot of potential in the women's division, as hopefully the star that Nia could never become. I think she has potential. The biggest stars of the night, obviously Liv and Rhea going the distance. Great pushes for them. Really trying to build Liv up. A lot of people didn't feel like she deserved the championship she got, and obviously it did end up being a lackluster reign. But I think they are doing a really good job of building her up, giving her that workhorse mentality. Asuka, I think, was probably the showing of the night. A lot of potential for her. I want them to turn her heel and just let her, run amok among the roster. I think Raquel also had a pretty good showing. I think her and Asuka probably the best of the night outside of Rhea and Liv. And then the Zelina Vega coming in as jury was a nice call out to the Street Fighter fans. I'm not sure how many of those there are that watch wrestling, but that was fun to see. And then for better or worse, with Nia Jax returning in a moment of me staring at the ceiling, trying to take deep breaths, preventing myself from losing it and getting up in my feelings, because just the absolute last person I wanted to see back. But the rumors were true. And obviously this was going to go one of two ways. It was either going to go, she comes in and dominates and wins the Rumble and I stopped watching wrestling, or exactly what happened, and Triple H making another great call similar to his Raw 30 show, where they acknowledge mistakes they've made in the past, getting rid of the big person here and not letting her run amok, which is probably what Vince would have done. But yeah, everyone ganging up on her, eliminating her, the right call. Hopefully this is just a one-off. We've been arguing that ourselves, but the best call here, and the ending was great. Asuka, Liv, and Rhea, that was all on the edge of the mat. Great storytelling, and Asuka changing her color of mist. Great match from start to finish, in my opinion. Gave this one a 9 out of 10. Back to you, KP.
Nice one, guys. Thank you very much for your Royal Rumble opinions there for the women's side. I thought it was, very well received by a lot of people, and obviously I'm glad you guys agree with me on that one. I think we all brought up some good points there regarding all the different types of returns that happened to this match, repackaged people, NXT call-ups, that sort of thing. So, yeah, great women's Rumble, definitely the better of the two on the night, and yeah, it was a nice way to sort of prelude into the main event. So yeah, let's talk about that main event now then, which was obviously the undisputed WWE Universal Championship match between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. And I'm gonna start with my rating here of the match as well as the segment in general. So I gave it in total a 9.5 out of 10 here, and that includes the match as well as the aftermath of what happened following the match. I thought the match was fine. The match was good. It was. It wasn't a surprising result. Obviously, Roman Reigns was always going to get the win there in my eyes. I think a lot of people went with that as well. But it was a good match overall. I quite enjoyed it. Owens absorbed so much punishment in that match, which obviously gave it, a lot more intensity and stuff. And the only real shame that I think happened in the match was there was a botch from Kevin Owens, and he went for a moonsault off the top rope, where he jumped up to the rope and then doing the moonsault straight away. Just missed his footing with his left foot on the ropes. But besides that, the match was pretty good. Sami Zayn's involvement, the storytelling behind it was quite good, and just sort of seeing Sami's reaction to that whole thing. Yeah, it was nice. It was a good main event in terms of the match itself. And then we went on to the post-match stuff, which, as everyone is fully aware by now, was obviously the beatdown on Sami Zayn by Roman Reigns. Obviously, Sami eventually standing up for Kevin Owens and himself, sort of thing, after the months and months of, sucking up to the bloodline. Essentially, that's what it's been, isn't it? That is what it's been. So, yeah, it was nice to see Sami sort of stand on his own 2 feet, hit Roman with the chair, sort of throwing shades to the Shield split up back in the day with Rollins hitting Roman with the chair. It was very much like for like, and then obviously you had the whole impact with Jimmy Uso and Solo just completely decimating Sami afterward, Roman getting involved in it afterwards as well. But Jey Uso was obviously, he was struck by it all. He didn't know how to react. He didn't really know what to do. He obviously had developed a relationship with Sami Zayn after being the one to sort of not trust him for so many months. And it is amazing. The storytelling in general is just fantastic. The way that Jay was just crumbling mentally in the ring, and you could see that like he had no idea what he was meant to do or what he should do, and obviously he just ended up walking out and just walked back into the backstage. It was chef's kiss. This whole thing was just remarkable. Like, I was gripped to the screen. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I was elated. I was shocked. I was scared. I was literally all the different accurate emotions I think are relevant here, because it was one of the best pay-per-view endings I think I've ever seen. I've ever witnessed in WWE, in wrestling, whatever. It was cinema. The memes say it's cinema, but it is genuine cinema in my eyes. And it was like the perfect way to end the show. It just delivered. Like, when they said it was going to be the main event, I thought, oh, okay, something big's going to be happening. And we kind of expected it anyway. But yeah, this just went beyond my sort of imagination, I guess. Like, just seeing the beatdown on Kevin Owens was absolutely brutal and horrible to watch almost at times. And then Sammy, obviously, being like, right, this is over. I'm going to hit Reigns, and this is going to set up the road to WrestleMania, which should be freaking fantastic. So yeah, I can't have enough sort of love for this. Like, I could go on for ages about how much I admired every single part of this. So I think we'll just leave it there before I ramble on too much, and we'll go over to Kurt for his thoughts on what was a truly remarkable main event. So what did you think of this, buddy?
Yeah, I thought this match was the best one of the night. That's why I realised that they saved this to last, because I was expecting that the Bloodline were going to break up at this point, which I said on the predictions. Which, even all in the match, I thought Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns did good moves and good kick-outs to all the spots of what they did and stuff. I really like the ending to this, as I said about Bloodline breaking up, as during the match that Sammy was there. Sammy were giving the chair, like teasing to give the chair to Roman, and taking too long to give it to him, and so he gave it to him, and Kevin got up, and then Kevin stood Roman Reigns to get Roman like down so Kevin can get an advantage to win, but that didn't happen because he kicked out. And then at the end of the match, when they were beating him down, and then Sammy came in and was saying that's enough for him, and that's enough, because he didn't want him to hurt him, because we all knew that Sammy had sympathy for Kevin, even though as they were tag team partners, and we all know where this is going now, because it was probably going to be Sammy and Kevin as tag team again. With this happen, I really liked as Sammy did the chair back shot on Roman. This is where I want it to be, like Bloodline broke up, because it gets bored with them all on it, in my opinion. Because I'm not really a fan of Bloodline, especially as they got all the titles, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do next, especially with Roman and Sammy and Jay. I give this a 10 out of 10. Really enjoyed it, and excited to see what's next. So pass you over to Scarlett for his thoughts. Over to you, Scarlett.
Yeah, and to again, sing the same tune here. If you don't like this match and you don't like the storytelling that took place after it, you just I think it's safe to say you just don't like wrestling. Can't ask for a better long-term story. Can't ask for, and the match was really good as well. But just what we've been building to for so long, finally pulled the trigger. Now we have, what seemed like a pretty straightforward, like it was going to happen, just a matter of when. Something, a story that can be so straightforward, but yet being told with so much emotion, thanks to large part Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I think the sky is the limit for them. I'm not particularly thrilled to see them, what appears to be going for the tag titles in long term. But hey, about this match alone, you can't ask for much more from professional wrestling, right? This is why we all love it. So great story, great turnout, great match, and a great way to end the Royal Rumble. I understand. I think we were all a bit surprised to see the Men's Royal Rumble start off But I think it's at this point in time in the pay-per-view, it was apparent as to why that decision was made. So a great ending to an otherwise mediocre show. Back to you, KP.
Cheers, guys. Yeah, I think Scarlett put a really good point at the end there with the whole if you didn't enjoy what this whole thing was about in terms of the long-term storytelling, the match storytelling, the intensity. Yeah, being a wrestling fan might not be for you as a person, but it's a really good point, and I can sort of resonate with that because this was one of the best storylines I think we'll get in a very long time. So, yeah, one of those once in a blue moon sort of style stories, which is just about to culminate in such an awesome and incredible way. Hopefully, it does go with the sense of like Sammy and Kevin getting a bit more than just this tag match come WrestleMania and stuff, and then taking the titles off the users. I think they both deserve more than that at this point, but I think it is going that way for sure. I'm not mad about it. It's just like I think they probably do deserve to get like a world title out of this, but obviously they can't. They have to put things some way. They've got Rhodes with the Rumble win, so he's gonna have to be involved at WrestleMania. So their hands are tied, I suppose. So it makes sense. Okay, let's talk about the show as an overall then, guys. So basically just go over what we thought about the entire event as a general. So I'll start with mine then. So in terms of the general show as a whole, I went with a 7.5 out of 10. I thought that the show was very much carried by that of the Women's Rumble in the main event, with the whole storyline and storytelling of the Bloodline. It was a shame that 3 out of 5 of the matches weren't as good as I thought they should/could have been. But to be fair, I think the positives outweighed the negatives. I thought the positives were so monumental that the negatives, although they were a bit more, were not quite as of a letdown as that of the positives were a massive high. So I think I'm sort of holding on to that. I think the fact that the main event was the biggest focus point for a lot of people meant that some of the other matches might have been overlooked in parts, because obviously it was quite a long post-match segment, and then you had the 2 massive rumbles. It does make sense that those other matches didn't have long on the card, because at the end of the day, I think the card was quite lengthy as it was. I think it was about 4 hours and like 25 minutes or so. So it was quite a long show in that sort of sense. But yeah, maybe that's probably what it was. So it was a shame for those couple of matches, those short ones, they didn't really get massive involvements there. But honestly, I'd rather get what we got in that main event than have a couple more slightly better matches and only get maybe about 60% of what we saw. So I think there are positives to take away from those other matches, getting that a little bit of less involvement. But yeah, lots of good individual moments from the show, and I think it's a great way to start the road to WrestleMania for definite. I'm happy with the Rumble winners. I'm elated with the main event. The Royal Rumble for the women's was great, and the men's was good. But yeah, just those couple of little low points in the middle there. But apart from that, I thought it was a decent show. 7.5 out of 10. We're on our road to WrestleMania. I'm excited. Kurt, what do you want to say about this, man?
Same with KP. I thought this was a decent show with the minor matches like Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss, and the Royal Rumble that wasn't really that a surprise of winning. Overall, I thought this Royal Rumble was really good and very interesting, especially the end bit. But I give this show a solid 8 out of 10. So I'll pass your thoughts over to Scarlett for his thoughts about the show. Over to you, Scarlett.
Yeah, it's a great point, KP. Actually, when you think of it as an overall show, yes, those 2 matches were frustrating, and that they had quite the build, and the payoff just didn't seem to be there. But maybe, thinking in terms of, okay, well, the 2 Rumbles, both of those, I think, were either close to, or if not, record long Rumble matches. So, maybe they knew that going into it, that the Women's Rumble was going to be long as well, and obviously the Men's Rumble went long. So maybe that, maybe our thoughts that both of those were cut short was true. And if, we get the main event we got and have to suffer a few shorter matches, so obviously we'll do that, and we'll take that every time. But overall, I did give the Rumble a 7 out of 10. and it just is a shame that the first 3 matches, especially the second and the third, were just kind of lackluster. Not that the first one, being the men's rumble, was bad by any means. Just lack of surprises and predictable winners, I think, kind of started that off. And and I don't see. Again, I'm just. I guess I'm just going to continue to say that I think you add 20 more minutes to that pay-per-view and let those 2 middle matches have a little more time. I don't think anyone's going to complain about the show being too long. Not all of us are over in the UK working on borrowed time and no sleep. But overall, it was a great show. It's 7 out of 10, and you can't beat the last 2 matches. So we'll take, as has already been said already, you definitely take the positive over the negatives here. So back to you, KP.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for sharing all of your thoughts here. I'm glad that we're all pretty much on the same page in terms of like what we thought about it. But yeah, it was a great main event, and yeah, a couple of other high points in the Rumble. I know I've already discussed all my pros and cons, but yeah, it was great. So we're on our road to WrestleMania now. So we've got the Elimination Chamber coming up in Montreal, and I think that's in a couple of weeks' time from now. So it's not long. We will be back with another video quite soon. We'll do our Elimination Chamber predictions video, so that'll probably be with the same people, or roughly whatever. Whenever that comes out, that'll probably be on the Friday beforehand. So that'll be our next one. That'll be our next podcast for those on Anchor FM. And yeah, I'm excited for it. Definitely in a buzz now for the WrestleMania season. It's all big from here. So yeah, definitely interested to see who goes where, what happens now, and what sort of things shape up the biggest event of the year. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. I'm keen, and I'm hyped for it. So thank you to the Royal Rumble for getting us started. And yeah, we'll be back with our next video in a couple of weeks' time then. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching this YouTube video or listening it in on Anchor FM. All right. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. This has been another KP's Place YouTube video and podcast on Anchor FM with me, KP, because that would be me, and with Kurt and Scarlett, because that will be them. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.